I've already gone wrong. I don't want to be on this path. I want to be on that path. So, I am running through Harpford woods in East Devon. It is very nice, very muddy. Yeah, okay, wet feet it's gonna be. It's so nice here though. It's near the end of March. All the birds are singing and the leaves are green and lush, and there's a river running through here. I guess it's a tributary of the River Otter, which is just up here, and I'm going to run along in a minute. Yeah, it's really wonderful. I have not been running that much at the moment. I did a duathlon last week, and I didn't run, I think, for maybe a week before that, like at all. I haven't run in the last week, so literally last exercise I did was the duathlon last Sunday, which was really difficult because, I don't know, I mean all racing is difficult really, but it was really difficult. I guess it wasn't any harder than any other race I've ever done, but I wasn't really in the mind frame for it, and I hadn't been for a while. I couldn't remember how difficult racing actually was, so that was really hard. Oh gosh. Anyway, and the whole race I pretty much spent thinking, why am I even doing this? I'm not enjoying it. It's very difficult. Like literally, why have I spent £40 to run dressed in lycra in a circle, and then cycle in a circle, and then run again in a circle? I think it's kind of silly when you think about it. Anyway, but then obviously, and this happens all the time, I get to the finish line and I'm like, oh, that was hard. I did it. That's great. I've done it. And then you just feel amazing for days. Like for days. You feel like you've really done something great. And you have done something great. And that thing is doing something that you didn't really want to because it was difficult. Oh my god. I don't think I'm going to get much running done today. Doesn't matter what that is. Doesn't matter what level it is. Doesn't matter if it's a race or some other task. When you don't want to do something because it's difficult and you do it anyway, you feel so good. It's the most exhilarating thing in the world. And I think that's probably why I keep racing. I think, oh god, I think that's why I keep racing, and I think it's why I kind of do anything really that I've ever achieved. The best things that I've achieved have been things I didn't necessarily want to do because they were difficult. And that's probably why, like, all exercise is so satisfying, sometimes during, often during, but definitely afterwards. After you've done any kind of exercise, especially if it took you quite a bit of motivation to actually get out and do it, it's all so satisfying because it was hard, and because, you know, you easily could have not done it and just sat on the sofa instead. So it doesn't even have to be a race, but races in particular are extremely difficult because you're just caught up with the adrenaline of it, and you push yourself harder than you can ever push yourself in training, and it's just a very different scenario. And there's it feels like there's a lot of other pressure, like external pressure to you as well, to perform in a certain way. You're never really tempted to give up in a race. Well, I'm not, because I'm like, I've paid my entry fee, I have to finish. So no matter how hard it gets, I kind of don't have that excuse to stop, or I don't let myself stop. So the achievement feels even greater because I'm doing it far in a far more difficult way than I would in training, if that makes sense. Man, it's so beautiful here, even though it is very muddy. But the birds are so cool, and it's so green. I'm actually doing a 10k race here in a couple of months, in July, which basically will, I assume, follow pretty much the same route. It follows the old railway line, which is just up there, through these woods, and along the River Otter, which doesn't have, oh, probably does have otters on it actually, but it does have beavers on it. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was why I think racing is really good and really good for you, regardless of what ability you are. I think there's a Shetland pony up there. Racing is funny. It's really easy to think that if you're not very good, or if you're a beginner in something like running or triathlon or whatever, if you're a beginner, then you shouldn't be racing, and you need to be at a certain level to race. Otherwise, like, who do you think you are entering a race when you've only been, you know, running for a month? And that is just a story that you tell yourself. It's a lie. If everyone thought like that, races would cease to exist because no one would enter them, which is actually sadly happening. It seems in the triathlon and duathlon world, a lot of races I'm seeing, and running races, actually, a lot of races I'm seeing are massively undersubscribed at the moment, and they're being cancelled. Southwest Mountain Biking League, I think, maybe just cancelled a race or thought they were going to have to. So, races need people racing. Whoa, the river is so full. Just run through Tipton St John, an adorably adorably named place. Oh my god, the sun is so cool. Can't believe it's sunny. Can't believe it's sunny. It's been sunny. It was sunny last Sunday, and then it was just rubbish. And it's the end of what feels like a very long grey winter. So this sun is so welcome. I was literally just running along that path there. And now I've run / walked up a hill. Okay, so what was I actually saying? Yeah, races need people to take part in them, otherwise they're not going to be running it anymore. Literally and, you know, abstractly. Here's what I really want to say. You don't need to be any standard to do any race. Apart from, you know, like pro level races, obviously. Like your average race. Any of these triathlons that I'm entering into, I'm not a strong athlete. I'm not a strong competitor. I'm just, rabbits. I'm just doing them for fun. I'm not in it to win, climb the top 3, anything like that. If I do come high up, it's almost always because, like, there are very few women in the category, and I happen to just be the fastest one of all of them. This is another thing, actually. You've got to remember that where you come in a race, people get so hung up on that, especially kids, but adults do as well, I think. Where you come in a race, it's got really nothing to do with your ability, and it's much more, in fact, it's only to do with your ability relative to the other people who enter that race. So on Sunday, I came 6th senior woman. No, sorry. I came 3rd senior woman in the donut duathlon. And there were 6 senior women in the whole race. I came 3rd, so top 3, brilliant. That sounds brilliant. But actually, the first woman came 16 minutes, across the line 16 minutes before me, over 16 minutes. And bear in mind that the whole race only took me an hour and 22 minutes, and her an hour and whatever, 8. That's a massive difference, okay? So she came first and I came third. That makes it sound like we're quite close together. We were not. If she hadn't have been racing that day, then I would have come second, but my time would have been the same. Do you know what I mean? So, like, where you come in the race isn't to do with your ability or how fast you've gone. It's how fast you've gone relative to the other people who have entered that race. You can't, like, you just can't be, unless you are literally racing to win and training to win, you know, like a like someone who takes it incredibly seriously and that's a big part of their lives. Unless you are doing that, it doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter where you come, how you place. Every single person racing finds it as hard as the next person because you push yourself, you know, very hard. So everybody crosses the line having given it their all, pretty much. And that the speed that their all is different for every single person, but it's the same level of output, it's the same effort that every single person is giving in. So the 80-year-old guy who crosses the line 40 minutes after I do has put in the same level of personal effort as I did and as the women who beat me in Sunday's race. And this is why racing is so great, because once you get over the fact that you didn't come very highly or whatever, or that you didn't come in a place that you wanted to, which is completely arbitrary because it depends who turns up on the day. Once you get over that, you realise that actually everyone is the same. You're all in this race together, whether it's 50 of you, 5 of you, 500 of you. You're all doing the same thing. You're pushing your bodies and your minds, most importantly, to as far as you can. And that is why racing is really cool, and why it feels so good, and why it doesn't actually really matter where you come. Old Coleridge. Racing is so great because you're doing something that you don't really want to do because it's hard, and you're doing it anyway. You're out there with a community of other people who are doing the same sports that you are, but mainly they're suffering in the same way that you are, and it feels very nice to smile at people and, you know, say uplifting things to each other as you pass each other or whatever. You're suffering together for a personal achievement that differs depending on, you know, who you are, and that is worth its weight in gold. So I wanted to end this video on a kind of summary note, I suppose, that if you want to enter a race for running, cycling, multi-sport, anything, then go do it. There is no reason why you're not ready to do it. These races have a huge breadth of ability. They often have a ton of different categories, age categories, ability categories, whatever. In loads of sport now in the UK, at least, the kind of like governing bodies of those sports have introduced this thing called Go Sport. So it's like Go Try, Go Mountain Bike, I think. I mean, there are probably other ones. So the idea is that there are these events within, like small events within larger events, where they're specifically aimed at complete beginners. But even if that's not the case for whatever race or location you want to compete in, like, you only get better at racing by racing, and that is extremely true of triathlon and duathlon especially. But even running, like, I cannot run anywhere near as quickly in training as I can in a race. And in triathlon, you can't replicate, like, triathlon's an event, it's not a sport, so you can't replicate that by yourself. And you wouldn't, that would be weird. So you kind of have to enter these events, but you don't have to be a certain level. Like, people really train for their first triathlon, and I get why. And I didn't, but because I literally didn't have time. I heard of triathlon, like, it suddenly, like, I'd heard of it obviously before, but it suddenly entered my conscience with like, oh my god, consciousness.
with a kind of like, oh my God, I could do this. And then I signed up for one that day, and 2 weeks later, that was the triathlon. So I had done zero training. I was a runner already, but not in any like major capacity. And I've always been a cyclist, but like a commuter cyclist and like a weekend nice sunny bike ride kind of cyclist. And I hadn't swum in years, really. Like, I enjoy swimming, but I've never been like a full-on swimmer. And I'm really glad that I did it like that, because instead of spending months and months training for this beginner event and worrying so much about it, I didn't have time to worry about it. You don't have to put in a load of effort for your first event. I mean, obviously, if you want to do really well in the standings, then yes, training is only going to help you. And of course, you don't want to injure yourself. But at the same time, it's so easy to overthink these things. Just go and have fun. Go and enjoy a race. You don't have to be a certain level. You don't have to attain a certain standing. You don't have to be embarrassed if you come low down or last or anything like that. This isn't the Olympics. Like, just go and have fun. And the more you do them, the more you'll get into the spirit of it, and the more fun you can take out of those races without like worrying a lot beforehand. So please, if you want to go race, go race. If you don't, then don't. Like, at the end of the day, you're just paying quite a hefty sum of money to, you know, dress in lycra and go in a circle. Anyway, thanks for watching this slightly rambly video, and I hope you have a good week and do the things that you want to do. See ya!